everyone, it's RuPaul's Drag Race, the US version, Season 13, Episode 3, Phenomenon. In case anyone asks, I don't know if you will, I'm not recapping the UK. I just have too much work and to add a second show at the exact same time. And I have to buy the app and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, if anyone cares, thank you to I think it's about 4 of you who comment every week. I look forward to your comments. I just want to make sure you know that, and I appreciate it so much. It makes the whole thing worthwhile. So first week we saw the lip syncs. Second week we saw the winner's circle plus Elliot with 2 T's. This week I won't call them the loser group. I'm going to use the term that we use in archery sometimes, which is the non-advancing queens group. So there's 6 of them, and we get to see them. I'm going to say right off the bat, I love this. Some people are complaining that no one's been voted off. We're going to end up having 6 hours of footage with all of the queens, and I love it. Love, love, love it. Even though we saw all the queens the first episode, half and half, and then we'll see all the queens again next week. I've been saying forever, I love this version. I love getting to know them. When we do lose a queen who I have no idea who it's going to be, we're going to discuss that. It's going to be a super bummer, but at least I'm going to have a sense of who they are. I'm going to, some of these queens, the first couple queens we lose, I have no clue who they are. I sometimes even hear their names and go, I don't know if I could pick them out of a lineup, but I watch these shows a lot. So I am super, super, super excited. And just to kind of preface this, going into this, I want to make sure it's really clear. I think everyone this season is so, so, so talented. Even when I point things out, it's like a one blip out of, so far we've seen like, this episode we see 4 outfits. And so if I point things out, we're talking about one aspect of an outfit. And so I just want to make it really clear up front that I'm not tearing anyone down with this. Everyone is so strong. I think every season has phenomenally strong queens, no doubt about it. I feel like this season, for whatever reason, maybe because everyone's schedule was completely empty because of the pandemic, I don't know. I feel like this has the most high quality queens in terms of like where we just see really good queens. So when I am talking about some weaknesses in some people, this is like if I took my 13 favorite foods and then talked about the drawbacks of these foods. They're still my favorites. I still really, really like this. Okay, enough of that. You heard me. So now we're going to get into it. We're going to get into the critiquing. So we have the 6. They have 1 hour to paint, and we see Kimora almost not making it. She almost doesn't make it to the stage. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and it comes back to a story Kimora shares about being with her boyfriend for, I believe it was 8 years was the number she gave, and that her boyfriend doesn't want to be with a drag queen, so she only performs 1 or 2 times a month. So there's a couple of factors that play into that. One is the fact that she keeps everything in a storage unit. She doesn't do anything at home. I don't know that it's healthy to be in a partnership with someone where they would leave you for you enjoying and spending time in something like this. I think it's different if like your hobby was having affairs or something like that. But if my husband, I have hobbies that a variety of, I have a lot of hobbies actually, and some of them he really encourages me in, and some of them he's like, for instance, stand-up comedy. He's like, honey, you don't like going out late at night. You don't like hanging out in bars, till 11. There's not a big like brunch comedy scene. If there was, I'd probably be all over it. But the point is that he discourages me from it, but he said he'll support me, he'll go with me, he'll do all that. But he said, I just don't think this is something that you would enjoy. That is different than your partner saying, I won't be with you if you indulge in this more than once or twice. Like you can occasionally do drag, but you can't be a drag queen. And so I think when we talk about Kimora taking 6 hours to get ready, I think what we're really seeing is somebody who, 1, doesn't get a lot of time to practice, and 2, doesn't get a lot of time to enjoy something they're really passionate about. So when they do get to enjoy it, they make it into a whole day event. That is my non-professional opinion, is that what we're seeing with that is somebody who gets to indulge in it so little that it becomes a whole day thing so that they can enjoy it. And then they're not alone. Valentina and Alyssa Edwards are both two queens who I've heard aspects. Valentina takes forever. Vanessa is someone who needs to spend a lot of time getting into character. There's method actors, and so while I would say on one hand I go, come on, you know you're going on Drag Race, you need to have practiced a 1 hour face. You need to have practiced a 10-minute face. You need to figure out if you only have 10 minutes, what are you hitting? Like what's your fast track, unless you want to go to be a comedy queen. So I think that was a really interesting way of talking about how someone's personal life affects their performance. And so I have a great deal of like, you know, that sucks for them. So anyway, but we're doing the same challenge as last week, which is a daytime look and a nighttime look. Joey J, so if you watched any of the preseason stuff, which I don't do a ton, but I do some, Joey J talked a lot about using her natural hair and doing that. And then of course the first episode wore a wig, kind of a flat wig, but so now we got to see really the Joey J, which is the short haircut. Does look very feminine. It does look like it's not a common female haircut, but it's styled in a way that you go, okay, yeah, I know people like that. I know, well, I personally might not know someone, but I know of it, especially in like I don't even know. Now I've said I know it, and now I can't think of anybody offhand who has it. But we know that haircut. I've seen that haircut, that short, fun, up haircut, all of that. I do want to say real quick about Rosé. So sometimes we see Rosé with the hair down, and I'm like, oh, what is this haircut versus the up? And I was trying to, it reminded me of someone, and I finally remembered who it was, which is when we worked on a ranch, we had Amish come and stay with us for a summer. That's kind of like one of the things it's relatively common. They come out, they work, they do like manual labor and stuff for a summer, and they kind of, you know, have fun. They were a nice group of guys, but they all had that same haircut like this, straight down. They all had this, but it was always funny because one of them, his name was Marvin. We met like 4 Amish Marvin that summer, but he had his hair down like that, and as soon as like he got dropped off, he'd slick it back and wear a hair. And then whenever the Amish, like, so there were all these Amish guys, like kind of peppered all over the state. They would just kind of go and do it sometimes they'd get together and go do something. Like they went up to Cheyenne has this like Cowboy Days or something, and they have like country singers and stuff like that. So when all of those Amish came to pick him up, they, you know, like one person knew someone with a car, he'd put his hair back the way he's supposed to and wear the clothes he was supposed to. And then as soon as they'd leave, he'd slick it back. Anyway, so there you go. If you don't know that is a very common Amish haircut from Rosé. I don't know if any of these stories make any sense. So they do a rehearsal, and unlike last week's team, which was like they have no dancers except Elliot with 2 T's, who was like, I don't know that now's a great time for me to stick my neck out. We have the opposite dynamic, which is we have 3 full-time choreographers out choreographing each other, and so they're all talking. Tamisha is the star of this episode by being the best narrator. So we're getting all of this play-by-play from Tamisha. Love her. Love the attitude. We find that Tamisha's 49, like go 40s, go, sorry, big old hawk flew by. I love older queens in general, just because, 1, I can relate to them more, but 2, a lot of the ones that have been on the show have had this steadying presence. Now, age doesn't always make you more mature. Like, let's just get that out of the way. We know plenty of messes that are older and haven't learned a thing. But Tamisha specifically has this nice, objective, but funny point of view. And so I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So we have everyone. We have Rosé, Denalia, and Denali, and, oh, was it Joey J? Who were all, they were cutting so fast and out of drag. I'm going to say they all look alike, but there was a sense of like, what's going on? And they're all, the way they cut it together makes it sound like they're constantly trying to one up each other. We know that's not the case because we saw 3 minutes out of an hour. Tamisha kind of knows what's going on. Utica doesn't as much, and Kimura knows nothing. Nothing at all. So anyway, I had some notes on the runways. In general, There was some kind of funny wig lines. There was a couple wigs that I found kind of hard to read. Denali had like a wrinkle in her hose and it was super distracting to me. But these are all such minor details. There wasn't an outfit that came out that I was like, oof, oh, get that off. I don't like when the queens don't pad at all. I've said this before in the chest. I always feel like even when they, I'm not as crazy when they do the shadowing because to me it looks so fake, but it's drag. Like they've got the contouring of the face, give it a pass. But when they do nothing, I always just feels like it looks like boy body. If there's not any anatomy, even women with very small chests look different than someone with zero breast tissue. And so, but that's, I mean, nobody cares but me. Okay, so then we have they have the hot mess rehearsal, comes together into a great performance. We see a lot more tips and, you know, cartwheels and all that. A lot of people on Twitter, I looked very, very briefly, are saying it was so much better than the winner's circle. I don't know if I felt it was like so much better. Could I be argued that it was better? Sure. Do I think either group did bad? No, I don't. I do agree with some of the critiques though. Kimora was a little soft, a little like, oh, the lyrics were not quite as like the timing that I would consider to be normal for a song. Kimora is beautiful, beautiful. Loved all the outfits. I felt like the critiques were accurate, but were overblown in the sense that if you heard the critique and then you watched her, you would go, oh, okay, I guess that's true, but I mean, they made it sound like it was a much bigger deal, which I think is just a reflection on how good how good the group is that, you know, you have to point out every weakness, and when there's nothing else to point out, it sounds really severe. So they're asking Kimora to step up and show more, and she kind of did when they said, you know, you have a lot of competition here, and she's like, where? You're like, okay, good. You're present, you're aware, you're reacting to their criticism, give them more of that. Same with Joey J, and I always have a kind of like, oh, you know, it's boring to keep seeing your hair, but then they're like, oh, but it's an Angina thing, who was essentially always a bald queen, and then every single time the hair is a different color, and so I can't, based on that feedback, I'm not really sure whether they want to see more of it or less of it. It was a little confusing to me. On that, Rose, I personally didn't like the exposed white. I felt like if you're going to have this fluffy, it should be everywhere, and it just kind of felt like there was this exposed white. Once again, really, really minor critique. Utica is someone for me that I liked the first week, if you watch that. I'm finding Utica, I'm liking even more and more and more. He compared him to Crystal Method and something. I'm going to say, and I haven't heard this comparison made, it's not the drag, it's the attitude. I'm getting Katya energy. So when she's talking, when she's like just the way that she's interacting with the world, I'm getting some Katya energy, which is a compliment because I like Katya. And now the drag obviously is nothing, but you have to admit that Katya's drag aesthetic and her part of it is this, not this disconnect, but it's an unexpected. It's unexpected to have someone so kooky and zany and weird, and then have this very traditional pretty girl and all that. And so it's, but that's kind of what I'm getting in the best possible way. I do agree with the aesthetic as being, you know, an Evie and a Crystal Method, and who was the other one? I don't know, but I liked all the comparison. Oh, Thorgy Thor. I agree with that a little bit. It physically looks a lot like Thorgy Thor. A lot of people mention that it physically looks like the face does. But that energy I'm getting is a little bit Katya. Crystal Method is also a really good comparison. Anyway, Denali and Rose end up on the top two. Don't have a problem with it. Both are beautiful. Both did great. Both were incredible performers, which I think is a part of what pushed them up. I was a little surprised because I thought Tamisha was so beautiful and did so well. I was kind of surprised she wasn't in the top, but my guess is she's going to be third. I don't have a problem at all with the winner, so don't get me wrong. I was a little like, oh, when they were announced. Super strong though. If they had to pick a bottom, I would have to go just off the judging, which was Kimura. I don't know who would even be down her with her. But that's just based on their judging. I don't actually think, I was actually surprised they gave her that hard time because I thought she was so beautiful. And I feel like the first episode that they've really seen you do anything other than a lip sync, it's a little unfair to be kind of like you're resting on your pretty. It's like, give her a chance to do something other than, they didn't say rest on your pretty, that was my interpretation. But I feel like it's a little early to, you know, it's a little early to be saying that when all you saw was a dance and a sing. Next week, we're going to have, oh, and then Denali won. Okay. Next week, we're going to have a acting challenge, and that's going to be a real, like, you've got to, if you tripped on the first one, you've got to up it on the second one. If you know, did great in the first one, you have to kind of prove that you have this versatility, because if you drop to the bottom, all of a sudden it becomes a O. So anyway, that is where we're at. I'm excited to see Utica. Love Tamisha. Looks like she might get in trouble next week, which is not happy. I'm excited to see them all to come together. I'm already tired of the like, oh, we're the winner's circle energy. I'm not, I mean, this isn't a team game, so unless they introduce it, I mean, they could always introduce something which is like either the winners or the losers will, you know, will win, and then someone from that group will go home or something. But in general, this isn't all queens for themselves. And of course, what we always have to remember about this is that you are, and I say this every season, you are not just trying to win RuPaul's Drag Race, you're trying to win the hearts and minds of the viewers or the fans, but also you're potentially looking for future collaborators. So Trixie and Katya came out of the season. Adore Delano and Bianca Del Rio, I almost said Ben de la Creme, came out of the same season, and they both of them still hang out. I see Adore Delano all the time out at Bianca's. They work together. So this is a chance. You don't know where your future collaborators are going to come from. And the viewers love to see the queens get back together, to do stuff together. Ben de la Creme and Jinx weren't on the same season, unless I'm crazy. They're both from Portland. But they still work together. They love to see these queens work together with other people. And so it's like, don't burn your bridges, because you don't know who's going to be this crazy rising star you want to hook your little lanyard to and go off with them, and where you're going to see, I don't know if you watched World of Wonder. I'm just rambling at this point, the recap's done. If you watched it, they kept putting Katya with different people. They tried Violet Chachki, they kept putting Trixie Mattel with different people, and they eventually did a best friends for cash episode. And they were good friends. They just weren't, I think, well, wasn't quite, I don't know why they didn't just put them together. They're in the same season. They were really good friends, all that kind of stuff. But they, this is before they did a Best Friends for Cash, and it was like fire, and people loved it and watched it over and over again, and it hit, like, most of them were like 200,000. This one was like 1 million. And so they were like, oh, let's give them their own show. Point being, I don't know what my point being, but it's like you gotta think long term. There's a lot of RuPaul Drag Race winners that haven't gone on to the level of success as the you know, Katya's never won. Trixie's career was taking off before she won All Stars. You see, so it's, I mean, the money's good, and everybody says, you know, like all the winners say, of course the money's good and you want to win, obviously. But it's not going to do you, that one-time prize is not going to do you a lot compared to a 30-year career, multiple shows, all that. So anyway, all that to say that I'm already sick of this, like, oh, well, we won the first lip sync. Okay, so, I mean, you know. Anyway, tell me, sorry, that's long, rambly, it's early, the whole thing. Now that we've seen performances from the top 13, who is standing out to you, I'm excited to see all of them. I think Utica's the only one, Utica and Tamisha are two that I liked at the beginning, and I'm getting more interested in. In terms of the first group, Got Mick was really interesting to me. Simone was really interesting to me. So I guess those are my kind of my top 4 that I'm watching. Not to say that the rest are trash. I don't know yet. A lot of times because of editing and storylines and who happens to say the most interesting things, you know, I guess I was going to say that second or third episode, but we're past the third episode. We're going to start seeing people rise up that catch our eye. So, and I have no idea who might go. But they go after the 4th episode, so I kind of feel like at least you got some time. I hope you're being smart right now, whoever goes home in this next episode, and you're utilizing your social media as much as possible. You're gathering as many people while people's minds are still thinking you're all on even playing ground. Grab those viewers now and then keep engaging the rest of the season so that you can get lots of fans. Okay, bye.